Wednesday, July 10th, August 10th, 2022. I'm Andy Johnson. Good morning. Welcome to the program. This is how we do it around here. This is AM Prime on this Wednesday morning. Let's tell you what we're talking about this morning. We're talking with Mr. Israel Khan, Senior Counsel. He has made a proposal as head of the Criminal Bar Association in Trinidad and Tobago for the Mercy Committee to pardon 60 prisoners as a token of appreciation for the fact that we're celebrating a 60th anniversary of independence in weeks from now. So we want to talk with them about that, the process by which that should be done. The last time there was such a proposal, it didn't go through to the end. We want to see to what extent this one will be successful. We're also talking with Mr. Martin George in his capacity as head of the Tobago Chamber. He is telling the Caribbean Airlines on the airbridge Trinidad and Tobago not to blame the airbridge services for the fact that the organization the airline has lost a tremendous and continues to lose a tremendous amount of money on that service from Piarco to Crown Point over the years, and it continues to be the case. We're also talking with Dr. Acosta Gill, who's a medical researcher, on this question of there are alternatives, we understand, for the smoking of tobacco. People who want to smoke, there are alternatives for that. We want to get into that as well this morning. The proponents of that say that it's something to be considered. Also, we're talking with Acting Assistant Superintendent of Police Ashraf Ali. What's behind what appears to be the skyrocketing of the thefts of motor vehicles in Trinidad and Tobago? Those are the things we're talking about this morning. In addition to, of course, we tell you what the Newsday poll is, and we'll take a look around the region in a couple of the stops between, well, Guyana and the Bahamas. That's sort of the length of what we call the region. So those things and more in the program this morning. Stay with us. We're coming back shortly.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
The best for your baby is at dbesttoys.com. We have the best strollers, car seats, walkers, feeding accessories, playpens, cribs, clothing, and the widest range of brand name toys like Barbie, Hot Wheels, Nerf, LOL, Fisher-Price, Cocomelon, Intex pools, Amazon Fire tablets, HP and Gateway laptops, and the best bikes, scooters, skateboards, and ride-on. Visit us in-store at Southern Main Road, MacBean, or shop online now at dbesttoys.com. That's dbesttoys.com. We have the best toys at the best prices.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix-It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix-It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
All right, welcome back to the program. So there's a proposal put to the members of the Mercy Committee for the consideration of the pardoning of 60 persons who are now inmates in the country's prisons as a sort of a token of understanding as we head into the 60th anniversary of independence. That was put there by the members of the Criminal Bar Association as the attorneys. Those are the attorneys who represent people in criminal matters in Trinidad and Tobago. The president of that I would say unit in the Law Association is Senior Counsel Israel Khan. He's our guest this morning to talk about that. Good morning, sir. Good to see you. I think you need to unmute your mic because I'm seeing you speaking, but I'm not hearing you.
Okay, I just know.
Right. I think that's fine.
Yes. Good morning, Andy, to you and your support staff and the national viewers and listeners.
Thank you very much. Well, let's talk about, I want to background it with the fact that some years ago, I'm seeing that a similar proposal was made, but it didn't go through to the end. But talk over that and as to what's the rationale behind it?
Well, the rationale behind this is that it is not unusual when a country is celebrating such a milestone that the powers that be indicate that they are merciful and benevolent, and there might be prisoners who are rehabilitated that they could use the powers and release these prisoners as a sign of development. So it's not unusual. It happened in other countries. When we celebrated our 50th anniversary, I think the then Minister of National Security, Herbert Von Lee, attempted to do that, but the Mercy Committee was tardy in their approach and they didn't really meet in time and process the applicants, and that fell apart.
Yeah, I think he was Minister of Justice, as far as I remember. But
yes.
Because the issue is that the Mercy Committee was not meeting in the way that it should have, and it didn't meet at all to consider that.
Yes, I think so.
And let's talk about the Mercy Committee. So it's the president who's the head of the Mercy Committee, and then it involves the Attorney General and the Director of Public Prosecutions and other people. Who are some of the other people, as far as you know, who make it up?
Well, that is kept as a sort of a secret, but we know the Attorney General, the Minister of National Security, and the Director of Public Prosecutions. And the president is just the conduit pipe it goes to, and she will take the advice of the Mercy Committee. The other two persons, I think one used to be Archbishop of the Catholic Church or something, and some other prominent citizen.
Yeah. So what do you know as to where the proposal is at this point?
Well, the Attorney General replied to the letter sent to him by the Criminal Bar Association, and he has indicated that he has passed it on to the relevant authorities to take into consideration our recommendation, worthwhile recommendation, he said.
And who in this case would be the relevant authorities based on your understanding?
Well, it will first of all will be the line minister, Minister of National Security, then the Director of Public Prosecution. They might send a copy to him, and then of course, the Prime Minister will be on top of all these things unofficially, ex officio, as being primus inter pares. And then it goes to the committee. And then the committee will meet with the president and they discuss who should be released and who should not be released.
Who are the authorities you think who would be on top of the situation as to, because it is yeah.
I really don't know that. The Criminal Bar Association does not know that. The prison authority would know. The Commissioner of Prisons will know, because he will have the records, the good behavior, the bad behavior, how long they have been sentenced, whether they're involved with programs in the prison, whether they have educated themselves, whether they're fit and proper person to return to the society.
Yeah, so that's the province of the Commissioner of Prisons. He would know from his staff and so on who has met the criteria, which is that somebody has to show evidence of having been reformed, having participated, one imagines, in programs in the prison, and is exhibiting behavior that suggests that they are a better person now than when they went in.
Yes, and I will hope that the government of the day would know that the 60th, the Diamond Jubilee celebration is coming up, and they would have put things in place and be on top and know who are the prisoners, if they're going to release anybody, and we'll have a file and so on. We have recommended 60 prisoners be released, with 10 immediately on the 31st August, which is the day of our independence, and the rest released in batches.
Yeah, I saw that, but you propose as to how the batching should work and at what intervals. But it's your understanding or your proposal, the thinking that this happened, let's say, over the 12 months of the 60th anniversary, or what?
Yes, because what will happen, they say there will be a month celebration, but during the 60th year, the entire year, that will give, if we release it in batches, it will give the Mercy Committee adequate time to look at the persons that they would be releasing, because they will have to know where they're going to be located, who they're going to be living with, etc., etc. So that will give them sufficient time. That is the reason we said in batches.
Yeah, so they don't have to consider all 60 in one go.
No, 60 is significant, just as how 600,000 trees are being planted in Jamaica to celebrate their Diamond Jubilee. It's not too late to take a page out of the book of Jamaica, and we can do that. We can distribute the trees to the schools. The whole of the northern and central range can be replanted and so on.
Yeah.
No shame in adopting that.
Yeah. How hopeful are you this time around for this? What are the vibes you probably have on it?
Pardon?
I was asking, how hopeful are you that this time around this will be successful? And what are the vibes you may be getting on it, if any at all?
Well, we will embarrass the government by writing letters. The Criminal Bar Association will make statement, call upon the authorities to tell us that there are no rehabilitated prisoners in a system, in the court, because we have no parole system. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is a proposal that has been on the table for quite some time, for the consideration of a parole system, right?
Yes, but not only a parole system, the criminal justice system is in shambles, because first of all, there are over 10,000 or more, I believe, prisoners who have been charged for murder, and they are incarcerated, waiting their day for trial. And it takes on the average about 10 to 12 years to get a date of trial. This is a national disgrace and a scandal. And what the government should do, the first thing they should do is categorize murder into first, second, and third degree, make second and third degree bailable, and first degree will remain now as the law stands, that the accused can apply to a judge in chambers to see whether it should be allowed bail. If that is done, it will ease the population incarcerated for murder. And they cannot say that they embrace a constitution which guarantees a presumption of innocence, that you are innocent until proven guilty, and you are locking people up for 10 and 15 years, 12 years, in order to get a day. It is shameful and disgraceful. And if we are spending 60 years of independence, somebody must do something. And I know the reason why they have been doing nothing. I know the reason.
And you're not disposed to saying it?
Yes, I am disposed to saying it. What has happened from slavery to now, since this country has been operating, they do not emphasize the downtrodden and the dispossessed people, because the downtrodden and dispossessed people are the ones, for some reason or the other, who find themselves usually in prison on a murder charge. The persons who are charged of passing laws in Parliament, metaphorically speaking, they are George Orwell pigs. Metaphorically speaking, those who have to implement the laws are George Orwell pigs. And the judiciary who is seeing about the rights and freedom of the individual, they are George Orwell pigs. And let the population know what that means. It means that all men are equal, but some are more equal than others.
Yeah.
You're not concerned with what's happening, and they know there's crimes in the country, especially when the Constitution guarantees that the wealth of the country, they should have an opportunity to benefit from it. That's the preamble of the Constitution, and nothing is being done.
All right, it's
That's the reason.
yeah, it's a complex of issues you raised there that we probably need some more time to get into. But you say 10,000 people. What is the number you say people on murder charges? I'm asking the question in the context of the fact that you have now on the table the issue that people are on remand for murder can apply for bail and so on. So that's a floodgate by itself. Yeah.
Yes, but if they categorize murder, it will ease up. And incidentally, the judges are not granting bail so easily, you know.
Yeah.
They're resisting the applications. And they are not listing the matters. 10,000, 1,000 matters, murder, and the other cases and so on. How are we going to handle these things?
Yeah.
And you do not have the DPP department fully staffed with competent attorney to prosecute. There's some water in the brandy in relation to judges in the criminal arena, in the criminal division. When they go to the court of appeal, they're being knocked down, the matter has to be sent to be retried. It's a small number, but nonetheless, when a case has to be retried, it costs the country hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, we have to make some time to get into some of those matters in more detail, but we have to leave it there for now, Mr. Khan. Thank you very much for talking with us on this and raising the proposal. Let's see whether this time there'll be more luck than another time. But thank you very much.
Much obliged to you, Andy.
All right, Israel Khan, Senior Counsel, Head of the Criminal Bar Association. The proposal is on the table once more for the authorities to pardon 60 persons who qualify to be pardoned as a contribution to our celebration of the 60th anniversary of independence. We will take a break, and when we come back, Martin George, Head of the Tobago Chamber, on the issue of the profit and loss of the air bridge. Stay with us.
Get ready for an explosion of music an August evening at La Jolla Auditorium, featuring Leandra, Tricanal, David Baru and Marva, Nathaniel, and from Tobago, John Arnold and Lynette Lewis. August 20th, $250. La Jolla Auditorium from 6 p.m. For more info, call 747-4289 or 262-2584.
And creamy, you'll find it right here. Makes you smile, relax a while, it's fun and good cheer. Ooh, enjoy every scoop. Ooh, every taste will get you hooked. We have flavors that you love, a combination special. Come along, enjoy our treats. This is Uncle Pete's.
The best for your baby is at thebesttoys.com. From the best strollers, car seats, baby carriers, high chairs, booster seats, rockers, jumpers and bouncers, walkers, baby blankets, feeding accessories, bathtubs. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship McBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 332-BABY. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered,
the conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Only on WESN, Content Capital.
Well, let's just make this announcement. Mr. Martin George said he had other commitments and he could not stay with us to have the discussion at this point, at this time. So we're talking now with Dr. Yacosta Gill, who's a medical researcher. The issue before us, patients seeking alternatives to tobacco, to the use of tobacco. Dr. Gill, good morning. Good to see you. Okay, I think you need to unmute your mic.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, how are you?
Thank you for the invitation.
All right, so let's talk about this. You see, so there are, I would call it, there's relief for people who want to smoke, but there are alternatives to tobacco.
Yes, we know that the best option for an adult smoker that smoke is to stop smoking altogether in terms of reducing the risk. But for those adult smokers that cannot stop or are unwilling to stop smoking, the best option for them is to change to non-combustible alternatives, which are in recent innovations in terms of tobacco harm reduction.
You say non-combustible substances. Well, explain that. Break that down for us.
Yes, the key for the damage of smoking is in the combustion or the burning of the tobacco leaves. That has been discovered in recent research that when the tobacco burns, it usually does that at 400 Celsius, is when we have smoke. And in that smoke, they release over 6,000 chemicals that are harmful or potentially harmful for the human being. And 100 of those has been directly associated with the diseases that we know as tobacco-related diseases. So the main damage in the smoking is in the combustion or burning. So it would be an acceptable option to develop innovative alternatives that are not combustible, that do not have combustion or burn, that releases the nicotine that is going to be delivered to the user. And by that, we are going to decrease this amount of substances that are delivered in the smoke. In this case, we are not going to have smoke because there's no combustion. So we are going to have usually an aerosol or a vapor that is going to be delivered to the user.
So this is something else. This is something in addition to what is called vaping, the substance used in vaping, or is it an improvement of that on that, or what?
Vaping or e-cigarettes, which is the same, are also non-combustible alternatives. In the case of Philip Morris, we have developed heated tobacco products. Is in a device that heat the tobacco under temperatures that will never go up to 356 grades. So we are sure that there is no combustion. There is heated of tobacco. So there are going to be release of the nicotine with a decrease that we have found in robust scientific research that the amount of harmful or potentially harmful substances is going to be decreased by 95%. That was one of the important milestones that we have found in our scientific research. We have an abundant amount of evidence in terms of these non-combustible alternatives that we have developed. We have over 20 years of research in that area, and we have now a dedicated 930 scientists in only to investigate and research these non-combustible alternatives.
All right, I'm interested in something you said in the beginning. You talked about categories of people who may qualify for this. You say people who cannot stop smoking or who are unwilling to stop smoking. Are there people who cannot stop smoking?
Yes, these products are exclusively for those adult smokers that cannot stop smoking or decide to continue to smoke. These are not designed for people that are new to smoking, especially young adults, young or older minor, and people that are already changed, change or stop smoking. So that's very important, that these products are exclusively designed for that population that are decided to continue to smoke or cannot stop smoking. It's very important because the mission of the objectives of these products is to reduce the risk profile for the people that are willing to continue to smoke, then can change to a better option than continue to smoke, and that have scientific evidence that is so.
Yeah. Do you know, to what extent do you know I would say the reasoning behind why people can't stop smoking?
Yes, there are two main things that people smoke. One of them is the nicotine addiction. We know that nicotine is an addictive substance that is not risk-free, but we know for the evidence that we have now that is not the main cause of the diseases that are related to tobacco. In that term will be cardiovascular disease, brain damage, lung diseases like obstructive pulmonary disease and emphysema. And that's the reason that I said before, that nicotine should never be allowed to be in contact with, for example, a minor. It's contraindicated in several populations as minors, pregnant, diabetes, person with important cardiovascular diseases. But as I said before, it's not the main cause of these diseases that we know was tobacco related. The second reason that the person smoke is for the ritual, for the sensory experience that they have when they use a cigarette. We know that people, for example, say to us that when they smoke, they need to have something between their hands. They have to feel the smoke in exhaling something from their mouth. So those two things have to be addressed in these alternatives. So the experience of them when they change to one of these non-combustibles innovative devices will be as close as possible than when they smoke a cigarette. So there have to be two characteristics in these alternatives. One is the science. They have to be robust science that demonstrate that actually is a better option for them than continue to smoke. And the second characteristic is that these alternatives is going to be satisfactory in terms of those two aspects, the nicotine delivery and the acceptance, the ritual, the sensorial, because it's very important for the smoker.
Yeah, I want to get into a little bit to how and when, where this product was developed. But before we go there, I want to ask you, you said some people derive what you call sensory experience from this activity. Let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, what are what it is it triggers in some of us who smoke, the satisfaction level, the quotient of satisfaction you get from putting something in and blowing out smoke?
Yeah, that's a very psychological aspect of smoking. As I said before, one of them is the nicotine, the liver. We know that nicotine is addictive and is not risk-free. And usually the people that smoke feel experiences of benefit in terms of decreased anxiety and some kind of pleasure from the nicotine that we know that acts specifically in neuroreceptors in our brain. For the part of sensory experience, they usually have an aspect of it's an experience. They usually need to see it around specific times, in specific ways, usually accompanied by a coffee or a tea. So they have a ritual around that specific cigarette. In terms of the alternatives, it's something that we have to address as well. So it's going to be as close as possible for them, for the experience they experiment when they use a regular or a combustible cigarette. So these alternatives, if we see it, see it in physically, we tend to create similar experience. So they can hold something in your hands. They can have, in this case, they are not going to have smoke. They are going to have an aerosol because there is no combustion. But they can have that experience of exhaling something from their mouth, for example, and it's going to have nicotine. And these alternatives, they have nicotine, so they can be satisfactory for the adult smokers. The difference and the main difference in terms of reducing the risk for the adult smokers is the absence of combustion. There is no combustion, so there is not going to be a smoke. And we have demonstrated that by that, we decrease the amount, the levels of harmful or potentially harmful components by 95%. And we have, basing our investigation in that premise, we have delivered over 360 works and research already published in journals, not only by Philip Morris International, but by independent researchers that have demonstrated that actually these options are better for those smokers that continue to smoke.
Is it 300 pieces of work, of written work, published already on this matter? Over 300, yes, and has been published in different important scientific journals around the world. And that's only the investigation that has been performed by Philip Morris, but we have a lot of independent research around the world that has demonstrated that actually this option has no combustion, that has decreased level of toxicants, and that are a very option for adult smokers that continue to smoke. In fact, we have several regulatory agencies around the world, like Royal College of Physicians, Public Health England in England, FDA in the USA, that has included in their policies that these options are better for those smokers that are willing to continue to smoke, to change to these alternatives that actually there is evidence that is better for them in terms of reduced risks for their health and than continue to smoke. And having that alternatives to those smokers and having evidence that they can take informed decisions and about changing to this alternative will be important. That's why these countries and other countries like Greece, Italy, Japan has already included these options into the reduction, harm reduction tobacco policies. Yeah, Could you explain a little bit about the area of your sort of experience, your competence, your professional, I would say, pedigree in getting involved in this? What are you as a medical researcher? How do you what aspect of medical research you're into that or you were led into to the point where you've acquired this amount of information and expertise on this matter?
Yes, I am doctor in medicine. I am endocrinologist. I have PhD in research and investigation. When I knew about what Philip Morris was doing in terms of research and innovation in this area, and the potential that it will have to impact the lives of millions of smokers that sadly, as I said before, are not going to stop smoking. That's something that we saw in our clinical practice. People that that we told them that they have to stop smoking because they are going to develop these terrible diseases. They didn't. So when I was aware that this kind of research was being developed and that the alternatives that are going to be served to the public, so I saw a great potential and I saw an opportunity to change the lives of millions of people that are going to continue to smoke. According to the OMS, the Health Organization, World Health Organization, we are going to have about more than 1,000 million smokers in 2025. So it's about the same amount of smokers that we have today. So there is a great potential to change lives, and that's the main reason that I'm actually working in the scientific dissemination of this scientific research.
Yeah, you say it's a great potential to change the lives. How do you talk that through with other people who feel just, smoking is just bad in any form you think about it? Talk about the issue of the importance of helping people, change their lives and their lifestyle.
Yes, we know that smoking is very dangerous. It's associated with a lot of diseases. And as said before, the best option for a smoker is to stop smoking, to never begin smoking in the first place. But for those who smoke, the best options in terms of their risk reduction is to stop smoking. But for those that are going to continue to smoke, having an option that is less risky for their health and that has a scientific evidence, robust scientific evidence that demonstrates that actually is the better option for them, it makes sense. So it is important for the people to understand that these alternatives are exclusively designed for people, for adult smokers that are going to continue to smoke or are unwilling to stop. That, as I said before, the World Health Organization has said that for 2025, we're going to have the same amount of smokers that we have today. So it's very important that we have this complementary approach that is these non-combustible alternatives. We basically have two aspects that are prevention and cessation. Those two options are going to be the base for the tobacco harm reduction. So it's going to be the pillars in the tobacco harm reduction policies. But having a complementary approach for those people are going to increase the possibilities to decrease the harm reduction in the population as a whole.
And do you know the process by which this product gets accepted in any jurisdiction? Where is it accepted and where is it in use, and what was the means by which it got authorized in this environment, in this era of sort of anti-tobacco thinking?
Yes, actually this product is present in over 74 countries around the world, And we have, and we know that there are more than 24 million people already, adult smokers, that have changed from cigarette to these alternatives, specifically the tobacco heated system that we have developed. So in terms of acceptance, we have studies, for example, in Japan that have showed that people that change or migrated to these alternatives has stayed in that heated tobacco product in over 76% and use it, and they use the product only. So they do not use another options. So it's very rewarding numbers, and we have hope in that in all the countries we could have the products present. But the main thing is that this product have to be regulated in terms of the risk profile. That they have to be a differentiated regulation. That's what many of the countries that is present are hoping for, that these products are regulated differently than the combustible cigarettes in terms of the risk profile. We have different states in different countries in terms of regulatory acceptance at the moment, but we are working to present the scientific evidence to the governments, regulators, and stakeholders. But because our mission as now is to create a smoke-free world, and the company is making a lot of changes in that sense to the objective of in the future not producing more cigarettes, and the cigarettes going to be a museum piece. So that's the objective for our company.
And you say, and already there are 74 countries around the world where people are using this product. Yes, we have more than 74 markets already, and that has the product. In our region, in Caribbean and Central America, we have it in Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Costa Rica, and we are Aruba, when we are Curacao, and we are working to have it present in the future in the rest of the countries. And we are working actually with health ministries and different stakeholders in the countries to have these products present in the future. Yeah, do you know to what extent that work is taking place with the authorities here now in Trinidad and Tobago at the Ministry of Health? You know what is happening?
They are actually working with in Trinidad to have the products in the future, and I don't know the actual state because I work basically in the scientific area, but I know that they are making efforts to have this product available for the population.
All right, this is fascinating stuff, Dr. Acosta. We gotta leave it there, but thank you very much. Thanks to you for the invitation. Have a nice day. You too. Very, very good. Dr. Acosta Gill, a medical researcher promoting alternatives to tobacco. One of the things she says that it's fundamental to understand. There are people who will not stop smoking and people who cannot stop smoking. And if they want to do that, there are these safer and healthier options. That's, I think, the takeaway from this. We're going to take a break. Well, I think let's just go to do some of the around the region stuff at this time. Let's go to Guyana, where they say one of the political parties, it says AFC here, that's the Alliance for Change, is calling for the removal of Gaisuco, that's the state enterprise controlling the sugar production industry in that country. The removal of the CEO, and News Source Guyana reports on that.
The leader of the Alliance for Change, Kemraj Ramjatan, today called for Chief Executive Officer at Gaisuco, Sixnarai Singh, to resign from his position or be fired, declaring that there is no future for the sugar company under the current CEO. Ramjatan, who is also the opposition spokesperson on agriculture in Parliament, said the Gaisuco CEO has shown that he is not competent to move the industry forward. Earlier this year, Vice President Barachagdio also spoke of the need to restructure the management of the sugar company, but nothing has been done since. The Ghana Agriculture and General Workers Union, GAWU, has also expressed its no confidence in Singh's ability to turn the ailing industry around.
Sugar with Sisnarain, with certainly have no future. The AFC had indicated that the CEO is an unsuitable candidate for the governance and the administration of Guy Succo. He knew nothing about sugar and has been appointed as part of the favoritism practice and procedure adopted by the PPP government since its installation in 2020.
According to the AFC leader, the recently leaked audio recording of a Guy Succo board meeting revealed that the sugar company has bigger problems than expected and is clearly in the wrong hands.
The entire industry, notwithstanding these tractors, has huger problems. The problem of unity between directorship and of boards and of the CEO and his set of managers. If you are going to have polarization to the extent whereby prostitute talk is going to be carried out in such an important board as Guy Succo, then look, the government not only got to stop tractor purchases, but it must knock off Says Narayan Singh. He is showing that he's totally incompetent.
When Singh took over the management of the state-owned sugar company in 2020, he promised to turn it around from its years of big losses. But a few months ago, the corporation saw its lowest sugar production figures in over 50 years. And there was also concern about the shortage of sugar on the local market. The company has since dispelled that contention and is now working with the Ghana Marketing Corporation to get its product to consumers. Workers at Guy Succo have also been staging protest actions over the management and other issues.
All right, and we go to Solution now, where HTC News Force is telling us about the fact that the Ministry of Health there is saying that it is equipped to deal with what appears to be an increase in the number of COVID-19 cases in that country.
The Health Ministry has been anticipating a spike in COVID-19 infections post-Carnival. Over the last few weeks, the island has been recording a noticeable rise in COVID-19 cases as mass crowd activities continue apace. Health Minister Moses Jabatis, speaking to journalists this week, stated that medical officials warn God for the increase in infections given the very contagious nature of COVID-19, especially the Omicron variants.
We continue to see over the last few days, you notice that the numbers have been going up. We expected that because we have an increase in social activities. We see mass activities, both prior to Carnival, and then you had Carnival, and then our emancipation activities. But even way before that, we notice our people continue to gather in mass crowd events and so on. And we know that because of the way COVID is spread, we expected that.
Nonetheless, the health minister indicated that medical officials were ready to manage the event of a spike in cases.
We believe that we can handle this situation. We know that most of the individuals are not very ill, and we do not have a large number of hospitalizations. So we are hoping that our people can continue to do the best that they can.
Meanwhile, there is a new threat looming, the monkeypox virus. The health ministry is beefing up measures to manage potential cases.
We are monitoring monkeypox, as you know, and anytime we have a suspected case, we let the public know, and we take samples and send to CARFA.
This week, the Biden administration in the U.S., St. Lucia's #1 tourism source market, declared the monkeypox outbreak a national health emergency.
All right, so let's take a look at the Newsday poll this morning now. And the question is, would you support an increase in the price of tickets on the air bridge to reduce the amount of money being lost by Caribbean Airlines? And these are some of the responses. I'd support them just taking a loan and building a bridge to Tobago and charging a toll to maintain it. There are countries with islands farther apart who have built bridges to drive over. I suppose expecting the government to maintain an inter-island bridge is really a huge stretch, though since they can't maintain 1 foot of paved road. Another response. I guess if necessary, due to the high operational cost, maybe they can reduce the amount of daily flights as well. Also, an increase in the airfare to Tobago is necessary to meet operating costs. We already have the Sea Bridge, which is very cheap and also subsidized. Yet another response here. The average return cost of tickets to Grenada, Barbados, and Antigua is $670 compared to $43 to Tobago. Why? Because it's us locals who are flying between Tobago and Trinidad. Put the airfare up. Minimum airfare for a return ticket to Tobago should be $150. That's 1,000 TT dollars. All right, well, that takes us up to the top of the hour. Moments from now, we have the news at 7 o'clock. On the other side of that, we continue our discussions here on today's edition of AM Prime. Stay with us.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I am Marquise Akers. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs speaks on human trafficking. Economist suggests Public Utilities Minister comment less on WASA's transformation. Scrap iron dealers scrapped planned motorcade. Now for the details. The Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Dr. Amy Brown, has clarified what he refers to as misleading the U.S. State Department's claims that senior government officials are involved in human trafficking in Trinidad and Tobago. Speaking on WESN's AM Prime, the minister revealed that he requested further information on such terminology from the U.S. authorities, who responded stating that the use of the term encompasses other institutions such as the police service. Minister Brown affirms that the National Security Council is aware of the findings and will continue to work on eliminating such.
If it is that senior officials or members of the government are implicated or involved in human trafficking, that is something that the National Security Council and the Cabinet needs to be aware of and take urgent action. And it turns out that when the full explanation is provided during the meetings, that those are references to other arms of the state, such as the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And I had to tell our US friends or close partners that it is not really in the best constructive form.
The minister enthusiastically noted the government's work over the last year to reduce human trafficking and assures that the 2023 report would bring further good news for the nation. However, he referenced the Twin Island Republic's geographical location, which he describes as unfortunate.
This matter is of particular importance to us, largely because of our strategic location, or unfortunate strategic location just off the coast of South America, and the reality that Trinidad and Tobago is a destination and a transit point for pressure as a result of human trafficking and other illegal flows such as illegal migration.
Economist and former government minister Mariana Brown is suggesting that whilst the Minister of Public Utilities, Marvin Gonzalez, should constantly communicate to the public the plan for transforming the Water and Sewage Authority, it is the board who should comment more on the company's operations and finances.
He's in the hot seat. He has to get on with things. And you will find detractors. You will have people who come and make all sorts of statements. But the moral of the story is he has to stay in touch. He has to set a communication trend. He has to be clear about what he wants to achieve and how he's going to do it. And he has to depersonalize it. Now, part of the difficulty here is that the minister is taking on a very big task. And we're hearing from him and not from necessarily from the board. I guess it's at a political level.
Mr. Brown noted that the former Chief Executive Officer of the authority and Member of Cabinet, Ganga Singh, had plans to restructure the authority, but that never bore fruit.
The key thing and the consistent matter that we've gotten from what he read out in terms of the letter that was sent by the former CEO and eventually Member of Parliament, Mr. Ganga Singh, clearly says that there have been plans to restructure WASA for a very long time. The point is that we haven't done it. So you just have to get on with it.
The Trinidad and Tobago Scrap Iron Dealers Association has announced the postponement of the planned motorcade from the Brian Lara Stadium in Tarouba to the Queen's Park Savannah in Port of Spain. This motorcade was carded for Saturday against the government's proposed 6-month shutdown of the scrap iron industry. This comes due to Tuesday's announcement that there will be a peaceful march organized by various unions scheduled on Friday. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I am Marquise Akers. Thanks for watching.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit?
Yes.
What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive. It is not rehabilitative.
We, the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole. It's for all of us in public.
Welcome back to the program. We're talking now with the Acting Assistant Superintendent of Police, Ashraf Ali, on what appears to be an increase in the incidence of stolen vehicles in Trinidad and Tobago, although we're seeing here that an Inspector Lloyd Lazarus is saying that there's a decrease in the robbery of motor vehicles. Inspector Lazarus attributed this to the fact that crime-fighting initiatives and the strategic development of patrols within the Port of Spain division. So what's the real story? ASP Ashraf Ali will help us out here. Good morning. Good to see you, sir.
Good morning. It's nice to be here again.
All right. So is there or is there not an increase in stolen vehicles in Trinidad and Tobago? Or is there more reporting on it?
There is, in fact, an increase in the number of vehicles that was stolen, but particularly specific types like Tidas, Aquas, those are the main vehicles that the tender thief on a regular basis. Now, we have done a lot of work in recovering some of those vehicles. Only this weekend we recovered 2 vehicles in the Port of Spain area that was reported stolen in 2 different districts. One was in Chaguanas and one was in Northern Division, and it was left abandoned in Port of Spain area. So yes, there is an increase in the number of vehicles stolen, specific types, but because of our increase in patrols and our strategies, we are recovering those stolen vehicles, notwithstanding that they have been stolen, but we are recovering a lot of the vehicles also.
Yeah. I'm seeing some notes here which suggest that from Inspector Lazarus that between January and now 113 models have been reported stolen. 113 models. There aren't so many models of cars on the road. What do you think that refers to, though?
Yes, there are. So it ranged from Hilux all the way down to the Aquas. So it's a range. So every single model that you look at, Toyota, Nissan, Hyundai, all the different brands and their models, persons have been targeting some of them. Now, it's not, the issue of some of them is that we also have persons, the public, who are not being very cautious as to where they park the vehicles, paying attention to when they go to these fetes, even parking on the roadways is another issue where they don't have parking. These persons don't have parking facilities in their compound. They park on the streets, so that increases the risk and the opportunity for stealing vehicles increases. Now, when you look at some of these stolen vehicles, these criminal elements would just steal a vehicle to go online for a fete or go and do some illicit activity, and then return the vehicle. And it is just not return the vehicle to the owner, but leave the vehicle abandoned at some location. Then we have instances now where vehicles have been stolen and been sold for parts, scrapped. They scrap the vehicles for the particular parts because of the fact that the parts might be difficult to locate.
Yeah, I want to look at what probably is a good news angle in there, that there's a 50% recovery rate by police investigators on stolen vehicles. So is that an improvement over previous periods?
Yes, it's a drastic improvement. We have been ramping up our efforts. Stolen vehicles have been doing a lot more, and our patrols are paying much more attention to these activities because of the intelligence we are getting that they are not stolen for the purpose only for sale or scrapping the vehicles, but they are used at different activities. So we will have leading up to the weekends and some of these when fetes and parties are taking place, we tend to see some vehicles being stolen, and right after we will get reports from the public, and we must say thanks to the public for sharing information with us that these vehicles have been parked, seen over a particular period of time, and when we check the vehicles, we realize that the vehicles have false number plates on them, and further checks reveal that the vehicles have been stolen.
Yeah, and so what accounts for the popularity in some models? Why do the bandits go for some models as opposed to others?
Well, we have in one case supply and demand. We know that the high-end ones, such as when we use it high-end in terms of the Hilux, the Toyotas, these Nissans, the four-wheel drives, parts of these vehicles are very difficult to come by, as well as very expensive. If you go by the dealership, new parts are very expensive. So, like the criminal elements, they do take the opportunity to steal these vehicles and sell them for parts, and they sell them over to parts to other persons who are involved in this activity, and that's why we stolen vehicles continue to visit these dealerships who selling parts and pay attention and check up on them on a regular basis to see whether or not any of the vehicles or type of parts have been reported stolen. Now, the other hand is that the other vehicles are economical in terms of fuel consumption. The Tidas, the Aquas, all of these vehicles are very low cost, and it's a preferred. It's preferred by criminal elements because when you look at on the roads, you realize that you have a lot of PH vehicles that fit this category. So it's easily disguised into the whole PH and on the street. So it's difficult to locate those vehicles very easily. And when you look at the number plates, they just pick and choose number plates associated with these vehicles, and they put them on the vehicle. So only when you get retrieve the vehicle, and then a diligent check has been done on the vehicle through the chassis number and everything like that, then you realize that this vehicle, the chassis number is not adding up to the number plates that is affixed to the vehicle at that point in time.
What about prosecutions for people who are identified with and can we say caught in the act, or people are traced as having been the perpetrators of car theft? What is the situation with prosecutions?
Well, we have been, I don't have the exact statistics at this point in time, but we have been prosecuting a lot of persons for the for lasting motor vehicles, right? So yes, once we arrest the individual in possession of the vehicle, number of times these persons would take the vehicle and just abandon the vehicle. So it's twofold. Once they are been arrested in possession of the vehicle, they can be charged for lasting motor vehicle. But if not, investigations do in fact continue to determine who was the perpetrators of the offense. So it's a twofold.
Right. What does your experience tell you about people who may be serial car thieves, and then the people who are just, that is their industry, and somebody will end up on 5, 6, several charges for the same offense? This business about car stealing.
Well, we do in fact look at our data and our intelligence, because yes, you are right. There are persons that specialize in certain type of cars, certain type of models of vehicles. And these are some things that we look at from our intelligence aspect of it to determine if it's a particular group or groups of a particular group or different groups that are choosing to utilize to target particular vehicles. So that is part of our intelligence, and we have been looking at it from that perspective. So yes, we do in fact have persons who are offenders who have been arrested and charged on many occasions for this offense. So they are normally our prime suspect in the event that a vehicle has been stolen. We would target those individuals initially in the investigation, early in the investigation, because that's where our intelligence would suggest, because of the type of vehicle and the model of vehicle that was stolen.
Are there parts of the country, are there divisions in the police service where it is more prevalent than in others?
Yes, there are. So in our media brief, we have highlighted some type of some of the vehicles that was stolen in certain areas. So, for instance, Central Division, the entire Northern Division, which is now Northern and North Central Divisions, East-West Corridor, tends to have a lot of vehicles being stolen. Some in South, the Southern Division. These are because of the fact that the higher populated, residential populated and business areas tend to have a lot of more vehicles stolen, because of the fact that one of the factors that influence it is parking on the streets. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the persons on residents in the area, they may park their vehicles on the road, and they don't have parking spaces in their driveway or to secure the vehicles in their compound. Right? Sometimes, you go to these malls, persons just park their vehicles in the mall, and when they come back afterwards, the vehicle is stolen. Right? So there are several factors surrounding these vehicles, but what we try, the TTPS continue trying to reinforce to the public is that you need to be more self-aware of your location and how you park. Invest in some devices such as your GPS devices. There are several devices that you can put into your vehicle to assist to protect yourself and protect your property. At the same time, it will assist the police officers when we have to, if we need to recover the vehicles. So it's something that you as an individual need to put into place with your personal property.
Yeah, but in some cases, the perpetrators are very skilled, and they can sort of disable a lot of these security devices quite easily. So it continues to be a challenge, no?
And yes, so their skill set is also increasing at the same time, because let's be fair, if that is your trade, illegal or illegal, I mean, you want to be an expert in your area. So they would look for all the methodologies that could counter these devices. So you as an individual have to be very careful, very tactful in how you implement whatever device you have in your vehicle. Just the mere fact that you give the criminals, try to reduce the opportunity for them to thief the vehicle is enough. right? I'm not saying that it's going to protect all vehicles, but when they see once they have to go through a lot of systems. In some circumstances, they may decide it's worth it to wait so long to take a vehicle because they have a time frame they want to take a vehicle for. And when you look at in these cases, as fast as they could get that vehicle, because they're not looking to spend a whole night to take a vehicle, they're looking to take it in less than an hour that vehicle should be. They want to take that vehicle and go.
And sometimes, to what extent that is the case, that they would steal a vehicle in order to, as the people say in the street, put on a walk, and then they pack it up, and that's it. Who finds it, finds it. Yeah, in many situations, we would get reports that our vehicle was parked at a particular location on the street. The residents would call in and tell the police, well, they seen a strange vehicle park 2 or 3 days afterwards, because to say sometimes after two days or 3 days, you recognize a particular vehicle on your street and no one is coming, no one is moving that vehicle. We urge the public to continue to call the police about that, and we received a lot of calls about that where vehicles abandoned on streets. Okay, so earlier you talked about, go ahead. Yeah, so we have to look at when activities are getting closer, like feds and these, because they use these vehicles not for criminal activities alone. These criminal elements just decide that they want to take your property, so they want to drive, right? They want to reach from transportation. Just want transport to go to some location, some fed. They decide to steal a vehicle or get a vehicle stolen, or use a stolen vehicle because they have vehicles stolen and parked away. They take these vehicles, go with it. When they finish, they may even steal another vehicle similar to that on their way back. So we have reports like, you thief a vehicle somewhere in the south area, and the vehicle was stolen from where in north. It was recovered in the south, and then all of a sudden a vehicle in south was stolen and recovered in north, just because of the criminal element just want a vehicle for transport. So we have that we have that aspect of it also. So we have to be cautious about that. Sometimes the entire vehicle is found with everything intact. It's just that it was just abandoned. So there are a lot of crack shots in the business who just steal a car because it's easy to do. They move from one place to the next, as you say, steal one from town to get to south, and then steal another one from south to come back to town. Yes, yeah, it is, and with the number plate system, it's very easy to go to any shop that is doing number plates, create number plates, similar model. Just look at the number plates of the vehicles. You create a number plate, you put on a number plate, and you drive. And when if the police may see that vehicle and we check the number plate, we call into our command center, we check the number plate, we realize that the number plate is in fact registered to, let's say for instance, a TIDA. Yeah, we just say, yeah, this number plate is a TIDA number plate, notwithstanding that the chassis number may not be correct. It might be, yes, it might be for a TIDA, but for a different TIDA than the one that is being driven at this point in time. And the only way we will be able to determine that now is by stopping the vehicle and checking calling to get a check on the chassis plate, the chassis number on the vehicle. Yeah, you talked earlier about sometimes working with the people who are car parts dealers, and probably this used to be more prevalent in the past than it is now. I'm just guessing, and I'd like your response to it. To what extent you find that car parts dealers are complicit in receiving and then selling stolen car parts, stolen vehicle parts? To what extent that itself is a going sort of sub-industry in this whole matrix here of the theft of vehicles? Well, I want to say that over the years, we had some challenges with car parts dealers, but that has been changed. We have been having better working relationship with those individuals, and they understand that having stolen property on their premises is not good for
their business. So they continue working with the police. They continue working with the police. And when we check up on these individuals on a regular basis, they share a lot of information with the police officers from the stolen vehicle unit. So they have a good working relationship with them in respect to that. When I say parts, I don't mean in all the registered parts dealers and the persons who in this business. We have shops set up. Some people have shops set up behind the house, right? And over the night, sometimes they cut up that vehicle into the different parts, fenders, bumpers, the lights, the seats, and they sell these not at parts dealers, but sometimes we have to be careful that they may even use. Sometimes these persons are so present at this point in time with our technology. They go online and show, and we have we have a set of seats for sale. We have bumpers for sale, and so we have to be cautious. We have to be careful with that, because on social media now, social media is an opportunity now for persons to buy and sell. And then when you go and purchase, you don't know where these parts come from.
Yeah, what advice you would continue to want to give to vehicle owners about to the extent that they can be as safe as and secure as is possible?
Well, we continue to tell to them that, listen, even though you're put on as much security devices in your vehicle that is within your budget, right? That doesn't mean that the vehicle may not be stolen. However, place markings in your vehicle in conspicuous areas that only you will be aware of it. That assists in identification of the vehicle. When we recover the vehicle, you will be able to identify those particular markings, because sometimes they tend to attempt to erase the chassis number of the vehicle and cut off an entire firewall. That's the area where the chassis number and everything is there, and add on another one. So if you put in some markings in conspicuous areas that you can identify, when a vehicle of that nature is recovered and you are called to identify, you can indicate that yes, these are particular markings that I placed in specific areas. So it's easier for you to identify your vehicle. When you go out in these shopping malls, you're parking your vehicles on the road, try your best to pay attention to where you park your vehicles. We may not have the best situation in parking in certain residents, so I don't want to tell persons that they are totally negligent, but you need to pay a lot more attention. And if you own one of those particular vehicles that we have identified is on the top of the top vehicle that is accustomed being stolen, you need to take more care and attention to your vehicle and how you operate with your vehicle.
All right, so I want to ask you to stay with us. I think we have a video that I want to get in before we wrap it up with you. But let's take a look at this. We're talking about the same issue about vehicle larceny across Trinidad. Let's take a look at this.
In 2021, the figures were 45 for larceny motor vehicles and 23 for robbery motor vehicles. In 2022, the figures were 60 for larceny motor vehicles and 17 for robbery motor vehicles. There are also vehicles that can be easily cloned. And when I say a vehicle that can be easily cloned, we have persons who would have been involved in serious accidents where their vehicles were written off, and they would sell it to someone as scrap. That person would now steal a vehicle, well, not the person, but the persons perpetrating these crimes would steal a vehicle and transfer that chassis number on.
All right, so that issue speaks for itself. What I wanted to get at in the minute or two we have left, I'm always curious and sometimes fascinated by the number of vehicles you would see at any given police station across the country. What accounts for some of that? Sometimes the vehicles stay there and they just fall apart, they just go to rot. one imagines that in some cases these things are matters that are before the court, and therefore they are impounded until the matter is concluded and so on, right? That's all?
Yes, so we will have some that was involved in serious RTAs.
Accidents and so on.
Accidents that's expected. Then we also have some of the vehicles that Mr. Lazarus has indicated where the chassis numbers have been tampered with. Now, if the chassis number has been tampered with and you, the owner of that vehicle, cannot properly identify your vehicle and produce documentation to satisfy that you are the actual owner of the vehicle, then that vehicle cannot be returned to you until such time as we can determine that you are actually owner of the vehicle. So these are some of the things that, and then sometimes, as I said, the vehicles, as he indicated, vehicles that was sold by, when it was crashed, those vehicles are considered to be written off as sell for parts, but then they convert the entire vehicle back into a new vehicle onto the road. This with the chassis number and everything else. So this alone now has to go through another process, has to go to forensics to determine the extent to which the chassis number was damaged, what was the original chassis number attached to the vehicle, and another level of investigation. So the current owner of that vehicle may in fact, sometimes you have owners who actually purchase vehicles legitimately from someone else, paid receipt and everything like that. And when they reach the licensing to check the chassis number, the vehicles are now seized because of discrepancies in the chassis. When police stop the vehicle on the road, there are also discrepancies with the chassis. So we have to, those vehicles are seized pending for the investigation as to, and so that is why we continue to tell the public, be a little more cautious when you are purchasing vehicles. When you're buying a vehicle, go down to licensing office, get a certified. There's nothing stopping you from applying for a certified copy of the vehicle that you intend to purchase.
All right,
and when you check that,
I'm afraid we're out of time, but thank you very much for this. You've been very expansive on it. ASP or Acting ASP Ashraf Ali, thank you very much.
Not a problem. Thanks very much for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm not sure if we have any time to show you what the watch this is. If not, let me get a word from the guys in the studio. If not, we will leave that for tomorrow. All right, so that's our broadcast for this morning. We will keep it for tomorrow to watch this. We advise you, as always, you can stay with us, stay in touch with us here at WESNCC. You can get in touch with us at that and all our social media platforms and send your emails to amprime@wesncc.com. That will do it for us for this morning. At the top of the hour, news to that hour, followed by today's edition of Talking Point with Shah and Small. But for now, that's it. I'm done. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.